Hello class, I wanted to go ahead and work through some of the basic operations with Excel. This is just to sort of give you an idea of the starting point for working with Excel. Um, Excel will be our calculator for this course, and I highly recommend that you use it as much as possible because your major assignments in week 2, 4, and 6, which account for 50% of your grade, uh, require the use of Excel. So the more you use it in your discussion questions and the more you use it on your homework, the easier those big assignments will be. Okay, so let's start with some basic operations. And I would suggest opening an Excel document and then going and just plugging in the numbers 1, 2, 3. So I just type these in using the keyboard. So I just type those in. So if we want 7 there, we just hit 7, hit enter. And so we have just a list of numbers. And I'm going to show you how to add 2 numbers or 3 numbers, 4 numbers, whatever, subtract, multiply, division, powers, mean, median, and you hopefully will get the idea as we go through this process. So let's start by just working through addition. So and if you need to pause to catch up with actually making the Excel document, remember just pause the video and then catch up. Okay, so if I want to add 2 numbers and I want to add 1 plus 2. Well, if I just type 1 plus 2 using the keyboard, I notice that it says 1 plus 2 up there, and I hit enter. Nothing happened. It's just 1 plus 2 is just what I typed in. Now if I want, here's the trick, if I want Excel to actually do a calculation, I'm going to start my cell, so I'm just clicking here. I'm going to start with equals. Now if I plug in 1 plus 2 and I hit enter, it gives me an answer of 3. Now what's going to happen is this is how I would like you to work through your Excel document, typing in the work. So I'm going to bring up your Excel document, I'm going to click on the answers, and I'm going to look up here and I'm going to see the work that you've done. This is the work/formula. So if I ask you, I need to see your work or formula in Excel, this is what I'm trying to get to. So when you look at it, it's just going to show the 3, but when I click on it, it'll show there. Another way to do this is if we hit equals, instead of typing 1 plus 2, I go over here and I click the cell where 1 is, plus I click the cell where 2 is, and I hit enter. There it is. It still shows A1 plus A2, which means just cell A1. So if I click on here, it tells me the cell right there in the corner. If I click on this one, it tells me the cell A2. The nice part about this process is, say we have a lot of repeat problems, like on your homework, you may do a problem 3 or 4 times. So if you have it built into Excel, and instead of 1 plus 2, maybe I'm doing 8 and 9. I'll notice what happened to my answer here in F1. It automatically updated with the new values that were here because I referenced the cells. This one didn't update because I just typed in 1 plus 2. So this is not acceptable. This is good. This is better. And then you'll find that there are some functions that you can use as you go further. These ones, it's not real important to use like the sum function or anything like that. So I'm not even going to show you because I don't think it'll save you any time. So I'm going to go ahead and change these back to 1 and 2. And let's look at subtraction. Well, let's say we want to do 3 minus 4. Well, it turned it into a date for me. So, that's not even what I had typed in there. And it just keeps changing. I think there's a way to change it back to auto. But hopefully you get the idea that we don't want the 3 minus 4. We want to start with the equal sign and do 3 minus 4. Okay. And again, there's the work that I did, the formula bar. And again, the better way would do equals 3, clicked on it, minus, and instead of clicking on 4, I could also just type in A4, the location. You see how it highlights? So when I look at here, it says the A3 is the blue box, A4 is the red box, which is nice, so you know where it's pulling from. There we go. Okay, so good, better. Okay. Let's do multiplication. Hopefully you're getting the idea now that, no, let's use numbers that we have. How about 7 times 5? So again, if I click 7 times 5, nothing's going to happen. So let's go over here, and if we start with equals and then do the same thing, 7 times 5, magic. It works for us. It does the calculation. And again, if we wanted to use the cells, I would click 7 times, and we chose 5, so A5, there we go. Now let's look at another common way to do multiplication. So equals, let's do 7 parentheses 5. Okay, so normally that means multiplication for us. We assume that two numbers, or a number next to a parenthesis means multiplication. Well, Excel says we found a typo in your formula and tried to correct it. So it's saying it's going to add the multiplication symbol. That's one of the little things about Excel. It doesn't assume multiplication here with 7 in the parenthesis. So you need to put the multiplication symbol here. So for this one, I can accept their change. And if we go back and look at it, notice that they inserted the multiplication symbol for me. But if you use parentheses, you need to use the multiplication symbols. Okay. Let's do 6 divided by 3. Whoa. 6 divided by 3. Again, it's turning it into a date. But we tell Excel we want it to actually divide 6 divided by 3, and it will do that for us. Or the better way is 6 divided by 3. Okay. Powers. So this is exponents. If you look at your keyboard, right above the 6 is that little up arrow or little caret. So you need to hit Shift 6 to get exponents. So let's take 3 to the power of 4. Again, doesn't work, but let's go ahead and put the equal sign. Another good habit to get into is put parentheses around your exponent. So see how I went ahead and put parentheses around the 4. When there's just one number, not going to make a difference. But we're going to have formulas where there's going to have operations in the exponent, like maybe n times t when you're dealing with the compound interest formula. So if we don't put the nt in parentheses and we just write it, the only thing that will be in the exponent is the n. So that's a good habit just to get into. And then we did 3 to the power of, parentheses, 4, close parentheses, enter. Okay, so that's the better option for us. Okay, so there's also built-in functions. So I just want to give you a little idea behind this. So mean is working with the average. So if you remember finding the average maybe in high school or somewhere before, we added each number and then we went ahead and divided by the number of numbers that we had, or the number of data points that you had. So we'd add all these up and then divide by 7. Well, Excel has built-in functions that allows you to do the process as long as you show it the list of numbers you want to do. So I'm going to jump over here. Hopefully you have the idea that you need to start with an equal sign. Now average or mean, so note if I start typing mean, it's not going to come up with anything. Excel uses the word average for the mean function. Now, returns the average arithmetic mean. Okay, so we need the cells, their arrays. So the way you do your parentheses. Now it wants number 1, number 2, so it wants you to list all the numbers. So there's a few different ways you can do this. One way is just clicking on the first number and then dragging down, as long as you hold down the button, close parentheses. So notice that it went A1 to A7. So you could also type this out. A1 colon A7. Notice off on the right, it highlighted that area as well. Okay. And it gave us an average or mean of 4. So when you start using these built-in functions, you want to go ahead and make sure they array. So sometimes as you work through the course, you'll run into a calculation you're asked to do, and maybe you can't find the function that goes with it. So go ahead and just Google search the process that you're looking for. How do I find the mean using Excel? And you'll probably find a YouTube video about it, or you know, something that may be posted in the class. But all right, let's do the median. So equals, I'm just going to start typing out median, see if it's there. It's there, so I'm going to use it. And again, same idea, parentheses, click on what you want, close the parentheses. So they happen to be the same here. Okay. Now let's say let's do another division that doesn't work out as nicely. So I can show you something. So I'm going to take maybe 6 divided by 4. Hit enter, and I get 1.5 decimal. Maybe I wanted this to the nearest whole number. If you go up here to the center, you can notice that we can shift the decimal places. So maybe I wanted it rounded to the nearest hundredth, thousand, or we can go the other direction, like we had talked about, to the nearest whole number. So sometimes Excel will calculate a number for you and it's going to automatically round it to what you don't want. So you need to use these little arrows with the circles, add and subtract decimal places, to give you more of the answer than maybe it's given you at the time. So Excel automatically rounds for you. Okay. Maybe this was also an answer in dollars. So I can easily add the dollar sign to it by just clicking the dollar sign, and it rounds it to the nearest cent for me. So usually when you're working with dollars, you round to the nearest cent. Okay. And there's other options up here as you start to work through the course a little more. We'll deal with percentages. We'll deal with scientific notation as well. So that's another one that you'll probably end up using. I believe it's week 4. You'll probably see some of that. Hopefully that gives you an idea of just getting started with the course using Excel, and then we'll slowly work into more formulas, and that's going to be a big part of Excel, is using the formulas.